All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be speaking to an individual who has a big fight coming up with PFL, and it goes on July 25th. It's going to be a lightweight bout against Carlao Silva, and I have Jesse Ronson on the show. How's your day going so far there, man?
Good. My car just stalled twice here in Hamilton, which sucks because it's busy, busy traffic. Yeah, I've been having some serious car issues lately, but they all get fixed on Sunday for sure, which is all good because I'm gone for the week in New Jersey fighting, kicking some ass.
Well, hopefully you're firing on all cylinders heading into this fight, and presumably you are because, like, you had those couple, canceled bouts with Charles Jourdain, some outside factors kind of getting into that. So how good does it feel to, be raring to go with this fight coming up here?
It feels really good. I didn't let myself go. I kept training, so it's been a super long training camp. I've done all the right things to avoid burnout and overtraining. This is the best shape I've ever been in physically. I think I'm sitting at 5 to 5.5% body fat. I've never been this ripped, and gas tank it's always full. I have a hard time getting tired.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you've gotten any chance to check out any footage on your opponent or anything like that, or maybe if that's something you kind of leave to the trainers at your camp and stuff like that. Is tape something you diligently watch on your opponent, or you just kind of focus on what you're doing ahead of fights?
Sometimes, at the beginning of fight camp, I'll watch his last two fights because you're only as good as your last fight. And then my trainers will watch the rest or most of it. But the thing is, there's nothing on this guy. My coaches have been unable to find anything other than the last PFL fight that he had, which was only 2 minutes. And he didn't showcase much. I mean, he threw a couple of single power back leg kicks, a couple of fading lead leg kicks, a couple of fading hooks, and then some wild exchanges. That's about it. You didn't see much. And then the fight that they found before that was 4 years ago. So there's really not much to watch on the guy. I'm told he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, but he's only got one submission. But then again, so does Jose Aldo, but he's a world champion, right? So it's a mystery. I can't really pin what this guy is, whether he's a striker, whether he's a kicker, a grappler, whatever. So it doesn't matter. So I've just been able to train, and what we've been doing is just training me to be me and go out there and let's see what he can do to stop me instead of the other way around.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw a recent status you had where it said you were sitting at around 6% body fat. Do you feel like you're at the most optimal point you've ever been in your career on just, I guess, all levels of the game? And if that is the case, what do you credit for sort of peaking and sort of getting to this point where you're at as a fighter?
I credit the Phenom Performance Diet from Callan Cowan. His diet's amazing. It's kept me going, and it's kept my weight low and in shape and strong. I've been reading a lot of books on sports performance, mental state, flow state, and just a lot of health, and that's what's helped me avoid the burnout, keeping the flow state, keeping sharp. At this point in my career, I'm as confident in my wrestling and jiu-jitsu as I've been in my striking. When I first got to the UFC, I wasn't very confident in my wrestling or striking, my wrestling and grappling, but now I am, so I don't really care where the fight goes. I feel good, and I'm ready. I can finish it anywhere. And, yeah, like you said, it's the best I've ever been, and I can tell you right now, this is the best I've ever been. No excuses.
Yeah, and it's going to be an intriguing fight. And, yeah, you mentioned, loving, different books and stuff like that. What kind of books are you reading as of late? What do you have that you're kind of skimming through at this point?
Right now, I'm reading the Body Mechanics book. And the Body Mechanics book is not what you think body mechanics. It's like you becoming a mechanic of your body. And it's all talking about posture and alignments and how if one thing's off, it can lead to several other injuries and everything else. So just reading this book has actually enlightened me, and there's a couple exercises just to keep myself healthy so I don't have to spend $100 in seeing a therapist or anything like that. Just doing these proper things and keeping everything aligned and in tune has been good. The book that I read before that was Peak Performance, again, which touches on rest and avoiding burnout and how to stay in the flow zone or when you're in the flow zone and how to get yourself there.
Yeah, that's kind of curious. I mean, the way you perform, I guess I would have presumed that you kind of had that flow state going on in some of the fights you've even had a few years ago. So it's kind of curious that you talk about how there's that more recent turnaround.
Yeah, the last time I could really say that I was in a flow state of fight was when I fought Dom O'Grady in London. When I fought Jimmy Spikuza for TKO, my first time in TKO, definitely in the flow state there. When I fought Ryan Healy, that was a flow state fight for sure. And yeah, it's just looking to get back there since. And, I've had a couple of training sessions where I felt that I could hit the flow state, and it feels really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, who you've been working with as of late. Like, it seems like Parabellum and everything like that, you get in some good work with, but also you've worked with guys like Chad Laprise in the past. I'm curious who, like, your regular sparring partners are ahead of this particular fight. I know you said last time we talked Chad Laprise wasn't necessarily, like, in the gym regularly, but, like, who are, I guess, your regular sparring partners and people you're preparing with ahead of this PFL fight?
Uh, for this PFL fight, I've been using the guy at the gym, Tanner Freifogel. He's a little taller than my opponent, and his reach is a little longer, but he's a very good jiu-jitsu guy. He's been around the gym for a long time, so just using him to get inside the kicks because Carlao Silva's got 76-inch reach. He's tall and long, so Tanner's got the same build. So I've been training with him 2 or 3 times a week in London, and then at Parabellum I've been training with a guy named Kyron and Scott Hudson. Kyron is literally the same height, has the same reach, but he's heavier. He fights at 170, so he's bigger. So it's good to get working with him. And then Scott Hudson, who's been fighting at 165, he may be a little taller, but he's got that long, lanky game, and he likes to throw a lot of back leg power kicks just like Carlao Silva does. So I've got a lot of guys that have been able to mimic him from what they've seen and from what I've told them, and then they can also do their own thing just in case he evolves from his last fight from what we've seen. And, yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, and Kyron Cameron and Scott Hudson got some great victories in their last respective BTC performances, so some great guys in the area to be working with.
Yes, I agree. And they're hungry. They know that I've been to the big show, and, they see my experience, so it's not like when they come at me, they come at me because if they can gauge themselves based on me, then I guess that helps them because, I've been there, I've fought a lot of guys, and I'd like to say that I'm higher up, like I'm one of the top-ranked guys in Canada, so it's good for them to train with guys like me too.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like a mutually beneficial thing all around, but it seems like there's some benefits with the whole, Ruby Sport Entertainment agreement with Daniel Rubenstein and everything like that. How important was, just your changing in management to getting this PFL thing going on? Because you're poised to, potentially qualify for $1 million tournament here. I mean, it's a pretty good position to be in.
Yes. Signing with Ruby Sports, after I won the second TKO title and became champ, my old manager, Robert Rivetta, who he manages Dustin Poirier. That's the only guy that he manages right now, but he managed a slew of fighters before. He goes, "Hey, man, are you still looking to get back to the big show?" And I said, "Yeah, but, I need management." He's like, "I got a guy, Daniel Rubenstein, give him a call. I've told him about you. He seems interested." And then that set it up. And then sure enough, Rubenstein already got me the UFC call. I was a little heavy for that one. And then, he got me a PFL fight before this one, but it was at 170. And then this time, a few weeks later, he called me again. He said, "Okay, 55, let's do it. Make weight." And I was like, "Perfect." So he's provided me a lot of opportunities, and it's been very beneficial working with Daniel.
And what are your thoughts on the PFL structure? Because it seems more oriented in athletic meritocracy and just adhering to like an actual rankings from an athletic perspective, as opposed to there being, some of that entertainment factoring in that maybe you see in some other mixed martial arts promotions. Is that sort of, I guess, an enjoyable, refreshing sort of thing for you to be part of a promotion that values athletic meritocracy and what you bring to the table as a fighter, as opposed to like how well you can kind of like sell a fight and talk on a microphone?
No, exactly. That's how fighting should be. But then again, also being able to talk and showcase who you are as a person comes with the fight game. It wasn't Conor McGregor and Chael Sonnen didn't invent that. It's like that's been around since wrestling, like WWE. Like you got to be able to sell yourself. And but with PFL, like the money's already there. You just need to go out there and fight. And I like what they do is that if you and another guy both have 6 points and you finish a guy in the first round and get another 6 points. It all comes down to who wins faster that gets the top seed, and like the way that they structure the tournament and how it works, it's awesome. And from where I'm at in my career right now, this is how I feel. Like this is the type of money that I feel that I should be making going into like my 30th pro fight, and I couldn't be happier.
So to that point, could you see PFL being like the regular promotion that you'll sort of be fighting for the remainder of your career, or is there still some sense of desire to want to eventually fight for the UFC someday? Obviously, you're happy with PFL right now, and you're going to enjoy a few fights with them going forward, presumably, but is UFC still, I guess, ultimately where you would want to be eventually before your career all wraps up and everything?
Yes, of course. I always want to get back to the UFC. I can't not make it to the biggest show in MMA and leave at 0-3. I got to get a couple of UFC wins. I got to make my mark in there. I don't want to be the guy that holds the record for most split decision losses in a row and then in and out in less than a year. So obviously, I want to make a huge bang with the PFL, win the tournament this year, maybe even win it next year, and then sign with the UFC. By then, I could probably negotiate some pretty good show and win money, having won, back-to-back PFL fights or tournaments, if that happens, and get a couple of wins in the UFC, and that's when I would call it a career.
Yeah, and it was great to hear that you're back on good terms with the UFC, because obviously there was that situation that had happened where there was some confusion as to like what weight division everybody wanted to fight at and stuff like that. But it's good that things have come around, and it seems like you've made amends and good terms with the UFC again. So I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, I really pissed Sean Shelby off in December. I was 190 when my manager called and asked me to fight Carlos Diego Ferreira. You don't say no. It's the fucking UFC. You'll do anything and everything you can. I did a crash diet. I got down from 190 to 175 on 11 days. And then when I got there, all the guys were like, holy shit, man, you look fucking drained. I talked to the PI guy, and he's like, dude, you can't make this cut. After explaining everything, he's like, there's no way you're making a 20-pound water cut after what you just told me. And the thing is, I was telling Sean Shelby on WhatsApp, I'm like, don't worry, man, I'll make it. I'll make weight, etc. Like, you can count on me. And then, just not being able to hold up my word and my end of the bargain just really pissed him off. And then he had to find another guy, which was Kyle Nelson, which, that's good to hear that he got the UFC opportunity. But on 2 days' notice, it's just a huge piss off. And the way Sean Shelby worded it to me was like, it's not about, he's like, nobody's perfect. But he's like, think about how Carlos Diego Ferreira felt having, 3 different opponents and going up and down and up and down. Like, do I watch this guy? Do I watch that guy? Type shit. I'm like, oh, yeah, I completely understand. So, yeah, now everything's good. I sent him a message, smooth things over, apologize, so we're good.
Yeah, and it seems like you've had a couple unfortunate things in that regard. Like, obviously, the last-minute situation with the Jourdain fight where the commission thought you couldn't go forward with the fight because you had some sort of infection or something to that effect. I'm kind of curious, though. We were talking about, like, you reading a lot and focusing on, like, building your mental game and, like, sports psychology and stuff like that. Has the reading you've done kind of informed that kind of stuff and made it easier to come to terms with certain unfortunate last-minute things like that popping up?
Yeah, it's just things that are out of my control. There's really nothing I can do about it. It's bullshit. Why stress over it? I knew there was nothing wrong. That's like, as much as I want to say it was an inside job and they were protecting Charles Jourdain, because they knew the winner of that fight would get the short notice call against Desmond Green. And, it is what it is. And whatever. Like, I'm done. I'm over it. Water under the bridge. I don't give a shit anymore. So... yeah, the reading the books has definitely helped me take a step back and understand that there are certain things you can control and certain things you can't control, and no point in losing sleep and stressing and aging yourself further than what you're already doing by stressing over stupid shit.
Well, I mean, you're in a great position, man, so, I mean, things panned out.
Yes, they have. But, had I won that fight against Charles Jourdain, I could have had that Desmond Green fight. It would have shown Sean Shelby that I could make weight, and if I didn't get the Desmond Green fight, I probably would have got the call for Nordine Talib, but Cal Propolek got that call. I just got overlooked. But that was the straw that broke the camel's back and made me, reach out to Sean Shelby to smooth things over. So, yeah, you're right. It put me in a really good position.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're in a great place, all things considered. But, speaking of people wanting to go to certain places and stuff like that, I noticed a lot of talk online about, like, raiding Area 51. I also noticed on your Facebook bio you're a intergalactic mercenary. You're a bit of a bounty hunter there. What are your thoughts on raiding Area 51?
I think that's hilarious. Will it be successful? Probably not. And to be honest, I don't think that Area 51 has any alien. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, the Area 51 had some high-tech, top-secret, out-of-this-world stuff. But they've probably moved it all to somewhere else that people don't know about, because everybody's heard about Area 51. Yes, I know hiding in plain sight is the best place to hide, but, Area 51, they probably moved it to somewhere secret where people don't even know about. And, they've already responded, like, if you guys come, we will shoot and we will kill you type deal. So even if 1.5 million people go to that Area 51 thing, I just hope they wear GoPros and some of them bring their own guns and there's some engineers and stuff. So just in case they do make it in, it'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah, maybe they're hiding them in Atlantic City or something like that. Maybe you can canvass the area after your next fight.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many secret underground bases all across the United States or even underwater or whatever. Area 51 is just, like I said, it's the most popular one. But yeah, with a million people already, like, are a million people going to show up? We'll see. That'd be absolutely crazy. Cause I'll definitely be paying attention to that come September 20th, right?
Yeah, I believe that was when I was, seeing everything like that there. But I'm kind of curious if there's anything you want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, man.
In regards to what, the Area 51 thing, or
just in general, I guess. If you want to talk about Area 51 more, you can.
No, it's all good. That's. I think it's stupid. Like, who cares what goes on at Area 51? But I guess people have had enough. As for my fight, expect the best Jesse Ronson you've ever seen. In shape, ready to go. There are no excuses. So this is it. It's make or break.
Yeah, and a lot of people should be checking this out. It goes July 25th, and Carlao Silva will be taking on Jesse Ronson in a very key lightweight fight that I think is really going to deliver on all fronts. I appreciate the time and insights, Jesse, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, man.
All right, you too, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.